For decades, families of individuals with disabilities have relied on a specific, legally protected baseline, the right to receive care in their own communities rather than in an institution. Today, that security is fracturing. On June 18, 2026, the United States government released a legal opinion stating that states are no longer required to provide the services that keep people out of institutions. Looking at this flowchart, we can see exactly how the memo, written by Lenora Pettit, interprets the Americans with Disabilities Act. It structurally severs the civil rights protections of the ADA from a state's actual financial obligation to fund community-based care. By removing that financial obligation, this single legal opinion creates a vacuum. It invites states to stop paying for community services and default back to placing people in institutions. The timing of this memo aligns with two other immediate pressures. Texas and several other states are actively challenging the right to community care in a lawsuit called Texas v. Kennedy, while deep federal Medicaid cuts from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act are already taking effect. Faced with these severe federal cuts, states are being forced to slash funding for home and community-based services. When those services disappear, the alternative is stark. Moving into an institution means losing control over who you see, when you eat, who your roommate is, and where you can go. Your entire daily life is reduced to a single hallway. Taking away funding for home services directly strips away the basic autonomy and community integration that allows a person with a disability to live an independent life. If the federal government stops enforcing these civil rights, families are left to navigate the gap between their legal rights and the state's willingness to fund them. To understand the stakes, we have to look at what government-controlled care without oversight actually produced. In the mid-20th century, family physicians encouraged parents to place their children in institutions, promising specialized therapies and resources unavailable at home. States built massive, geographically isolated facilities, places like Willowbrook State School in New York and Clover Bottom Development Center in Tennessee, which eventually warehoused thousands of residents at a time. Behind closed doors, the reality was bleak. Facilities were dangerously understaffed, with ratios hitting one attendant for every 50 children. Residents faced pervasive neglect, and researchers intentionally exposed them to the hepatitis virus in medical trials without their consent. When Senator Robert F. Kennedy visited Willowbrook in 1965, he described the conditions as rooms less comfortable and cheerful than the cages in which we put animals in the zoo. The public remained largely blind to this until 1972, when two staff physicians blew the whistle, prompting journalist Geraldo Rivera to expose the devastating conditions inside Willowbrook on national television. The therapy and opportunities promised by the state functioned as a system of organized abuse. This is the documented outcome of unquestioned, large-scale institutionalization. Families and self-advocates dismantled this institutional system by refusing to accept the state's narrow options. Parents organized. In the early 1970s, they founded groups like Progress, Inc. to build the independent living arrangements Tennessee wasn't providing. By 1991, self-advocates with People First of Tennessee filed a massive class action lawsuit challenging the conditions inside the Arlington Developmental Center. This decades-long pressure culminated at the Supreme Court in 1999 with a case called Olmstead v. LC. The resulting legal protection is known as the integration mandate. The ruling established that unjustified institutionalization is illegal discrimination, acting as a shield against forces pulling an individual out of their community. By 2023, this precedent secured community services for 8.4 million Americans instead of institutional care. Generational advocacy from families forced the government to establish this legal bedrock. Today, the governmental urge to institutionalize has returned. It has simply repackaged its rationale for a modern audience. While mid-century doctors argued that institutions provided superior care, the argument in 2026 is strictly financial. States are claiming that community care is too expensive to maintain. Looking directly at the recent Department of Justice memo, we find the specific legal loophole. It states that Olmstead held only that a state cannot institutionalize patients without justification, and explicitly adds that what counts as adequate justification remains an open question. Legal experts warn that this language gives states the exact cover they need. They can now point to an institution as a fallback option, using budget constraints as their justification for denying community services. This legal retreat follows a July 2025 executive order from President Trump, which directed state and local governments to use long-term institutional settings as a catch-all solution for complex social issues like homelessness. Piece by piece, the federal government is actively engineering a legal landscape where large-scale institutions become the default destination for disabled Americans. The choice facing families right now is concrete. We can accept a quiet return to life confined to a single hallway, or we can challenge the state directly. With the federal government signaling it will stop enforcing these civil rights, local and state-level advocacy is now the only remaining line of defense. The battle to defend the integration mandate is actively raging in courtrooms, like the Texas v. Kennedy case, and in state capitals right now. The window to act is open, but it is narrow. Self-advocates and parents have to lead this modern fight, using the exact same playbook that forced places like Willowbrook and Clover to close their doors forever. History proves that we only prevent regression when families take action. Go to askstellanow.org to learn how to defend your rights and protect community care today.